hitting the button. Melissa, what is the most inconvenient place you've had the power go out? Like were you in the middle of something, like making dinner, or what was just the most
place
inconvenient
in time?
Sure, yes. I mean, have you been in like an awkward place where like you're at a restaurant and the power goes out or something like that?
I've had I saw Captain Marvel during a particularly bad storm. And right as she kicks it into the final climactic battle, there was like a lightning strike and a power blip. And they had to like rewind the last couple minutes. Right? Strongest hero in the Marvel universe. This proves it. I think Jack was once in a Total Wine and More during a power outage. That sounds particularly eerie. I haven't had the pleasure.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, because I mentioned to you a couple days ago when we did the review show, I got a new haircut, but yes. I had the like awkward experience of getting to the barber shop, sitting down, and about 2 minutes after I sat down, the power went out. Thankfully, I had not actually started the haircut. He was on a smoke break or something. But that'd be so bad, right? You're like halfway in and it's just like, well, everything stopped working.
That is the new origin story for Two-Face in the next Matt Reeves Batman movie.
Double do.
We have this massive disaster happening in Gotham at the end of the first movie. Surely out there is a guy midway through the haircut when the power goes out and the clippers don't work anymore. And that's his one bad day that he needs to go over the edge into becoming a supervillain.
That's how it happens, folks. That's how it happens. Oh, man. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to number 255 of the Whatnauts Captain's Log. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you?
That's true. I'm all right. I'm tired. I was worried. Ooh. Am I too tired to I'm not too tired to podcast, but I'm concerned. Am I too tired to podcast well? Will I just sort of sit here and blink at you while you talk about Ahsoka or whatever?
I mean, you probably would do that even if you were full of energy. And spoiler alert, I will talk a little bit about Ahsoka, not too much. I meant to talk about it last week, but did not get around to it. But no, I've definitely had those days where I'm just like, I'm kind of exhausted. I have to be here on a podcast or do something, and just I'm a zombie. Just.
Yeah, like I can walk around and move. I had like time and physical energy. I thought about running an errand after work today, and I'm like, you don't have the mental capacity to make a choice. You're that gif of Mr. Burns when he has to go to the grocery store for himself and he's staring at 2 bottles labeled ketchup and catsup. And he's like, I don't understand. That'd be me.
Yeah, absolutely. Understandable. Yeah, I'm kind of exhausted as well. I had a busy day today, but I'm preparing for a trip. I'm flying early tomorrow morning to go back to Richmond, Virginia. My job has like an all staff retreat thing happening on Friday. So staying with my old roommates once again, getting to hang out with them. And then, I have this work thing on Friday, which will be very boring, I'm sure. But
what is it? Is it a retreat of any kind, or are you truly just back in the normal campus buildings you always were into? Do they put you in any new place?
Yes, not in a campus related building. We will be. I'll be very close to campus. I feel like you could kind of consider the area maybe still campus related. But I think we're having it at one of the like meeting room places in our science museum.
Cool.
Which I didn't know there was like conference rooms there that were like
Yeah.
big enough to hold like 300 people in that. And then like smaller rooms, because we have like little small sessions that we can go to and do all of that stuff. But yeah, I've just, it's been like making sure I get laundry done, making sure I get all the things done for work that I need to do, since I'll be traveling tomorrow. One of these breakout sessions required me to do one of those like Clifton, I'm not sure. Let me see what it's actually called. It's basically another one of those like personality tests of like what kind of worker are you, kind of thing. Yeah. Let's see. I have this in my pictures here because I took a screenshot so I can easily get to it. It's your Clifton Strengths. Not sure. Clifton must be the name of the company or something, or the guy that created this test. Yeah, your Clifton Strengths, and it's ridiculous.
That's a character. I don't know if that's Marvel or DC or like some old pulp hero who fought the Shadow, but there's a guy named Clifton Strengths.
Back. Clifton Strength, the strong man. Once again, he's foiled our operation.
By day, they know me as Millionaire Clifton Strengths, but by night, they cannot tell that I am Strength Man.
But apparently, Rachel, my girlfriend, had to take the longer version of this for work like last week. I only took the short version.
What's the mini version? Can I take it right now?
I don't think so. I think you have to like pay to do it, or like have in like an organization sign up to do it. I don't know, but I gotta know what my strengths are. My Clifton Strengths are this: I am strategic, and it says people exceptionally talented in the strategic theme create alternative ways to proceed. Faced with any given scenario, they can quickly spot the relevant patterns and issues. Adaptability is my number 2. We prefer to go with the flow. They tend to be now people who take things as they come and discover the future one day at a time. Speaking of the future, this one is like, well, duh, Kyle. I'm futuristic. I'm cyberpunk. We are inspired by the future and what could be. They energize others with their visions of the future. I'm a relator, which means I enjoy close relationships with others, and I find deep satisfaction in working hard with friends to achieve a goal. That's us. Our goal being, let's talk about a soda. Exactly. Or soda, Ahsoka. Yeah, exactly. And my last one is achiever, which is they work hard and possess a great deal of stamina. They take immense satisfaction in being busy and productive. Stamina has become too sexual of a word. I don't trust it in any other context. I'm caffeinated, I think is what it means. Like I'm awake at my desk. Employee. You're an employee who can truly do the do. I mean, that sounds like a dystopian name for an employee. You're an achiever. Right. We don't hire employees. We hire achievers. Yeah. Right. Right. You're another one of the classes in The Giver besides Giver. I don't remember that book. It's been so long since I read that book. I still have it, but does taking this quiz make you feel anything? Do you feel, Melissa? I feel empty inside. No, like, so I mean, at the end of it, where you were like, that was annoying, or you're like, you know what, I do annoying. Feel some sense of insight. That was kind of worth it. D- d- I don't necessarily feel like I gained any insight, though I feel like this is one of the more accurate
Mhm.
like personality, what kind of worker, employee, achiever are you? um because I've done some that like what color are you, and your color represents
Purple.
like, yeah, and it's just like, what? I don't understand this. Why am I blue? What does that have to do with anything? Right?
Dabba D, dabba me.
Right? Dabba me. Yeah, exactly. But the test makes no sense because it gives you an option of two things. Like, I'm someone who enjoys life.
Mm.
Today I woke up and chose violence, right? And you have to like pick the one. You have to pick the one that like what one describes you the most. But it's on a scale of like, not a scale per se, but it is neutral in the middle, right? And then there's the two options on the extreme. And so you just have to pick, like, I feel like I kind of align more with that one. I feel like I kind of like, I don't really care about either of these things, right? And I found myself like often going with neutral because it's like, either I don't care about them or I do both of these equally. Like, but neutral doesn't really describe that. I don't know, like, so the whole thing was just like, I don't know what's happening, but it seemed to work. So I don't know.
If you find one you like, tell me. I got a promotion at work this week.
Oh, congratulations.
This is the first time a promotion has been available. They invented some to give them to us. It's not just me. My coordinator job I was in, above that was just like straight up whole team leader, which isn't like a role so much as it's just Carolyn. And it's like, well, you can't get promoted because, like, where's Carolyn going? So, like, I guess I just do this forever. So now they invented above coordinator, you can be senior coordinator and then lead coordinator. So they skipped me up to be lead coordinator. There's two of us leads. Now we're going to divide the team in half, and each lead watches over two seniors and like three regular coordinators and an assistant.
And whoever wins gets the senior lead coordinator, right?
With honors.
Yeah.
So I've got like a little team now, and I'm like, what? Not, like, they still report to our same regular managers. I'm less of a manager and more of like the designated mom friend who has to check in on everybody and make sure everything's running smoothly. But still, I've never had a team before. I'm like, they're all the same people, but I'm like, now that we are a team, what do I do with you? What do I do for you? I'm like, are these quizzes one of these things I'm going to have to start doing?
You might, yeah, have to just be like, I need to understand how you guys operate a little bit better so I can play to your strengths and stuff. But I didn't get very many options that were hilarious because you also have 20 seconds to answer each thing, so you have to do them rapidly.
Funniest personality quiz for professional work reasons.
But Rachel, having taken the like longer version, it got some like ridiculous questions, and it was the like today I chose violence versus like I like taking naps, and it's like what do these have to do with anything?
You can do both. Those are not mutually exclusive.
Exactly. So yeah, it was an interesting day for sure. But
we do get to name our teams at work. They said, why don't you name your teams? Because I'm Melissa and the other team leader is Marissa. So like, we can't just call you by your leader names. We're always going to get those flubbed up.
Team L and
you should
Team
have
R.
Right. Like, you guys should have like the same theme. So I suggested like cryptids. I thought it would be funny if we were like, right, Team Bigfoot, Team Mothman, cryptids and like mythical creatures, you know?
Marvel and DC, right?
It's got to be scalable because they want in the future for teams to stay approximately the same size. So if we grow, we're going to have to just make more teams, not 2 teams that are bigger. So like, what is there a bunch of? Monsters.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, it's appropriate for October when you came up with the idea. I know that would last like all year round, but still, you're just like, hey, monsters, cryptids. Right. Why not?
Creatures, bring your influence to it. You like a Harry Potter, you like a Dungeons and Dragons. Think of your favorite fantasy creature. Maybe that can be the team name. I don't know. Indeed. We settle on this next week.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, yeah. Let's. I didn't get to talk about Ahsoka last week.
On her.
So I do want to talk about like what I've been watching, stuff like that. Won't say too much, but I overall ended up enjoying Ahsoka quite a bit.
Good.
It wasn't perfect. But it had some really neat bookends where the first appearance of Ahsoka in live action is like the person she's fighting in that is also kind of one of the end fights in this show. So it has that like thing we've been talking about on the review show often. Just like, this is good bookends, like to how it started and stopped. So many homages to things from the Clone Wars and Rebels, like shot for shot, like remakes, but like recontextualized or has a different meaning behind it. So I liked it a lot, but even in how many episodes were there? There was 9, I think, 8, 9, something like that. Still feels kind of like it was cut short a little bit. We haven't gotten confirmation of season 2 yet, but I assume there will be based on how this ended. Just some weird things happening in that's just like, so you're just gonna end it there? Like, no, that like there's still so much more to this story. So I'm pretty certain we'll get a season 2.
Good.
But yeah, we'll have to see, because I know Dave Filoni, who created the show and wrote most of it and directed a lot of it, also is working on a movie, which is kind of a culmination of all the Star Wars live action shows.
I love a culmination. That's one of my favorite kinds of movies.
Yeah, indeed. So I liked it a lot, but yeah, it wasn't perfect. Ahsoka herself, I think Rosario Dawson looks the part. I wish she was a little more sarcastic and snippy with some of her responses in the cartoon. Like, that is her nickname. Her nickname is Snips, because she's kind of snarky and she will like joke with someone. And in this, she was very stoic a lot. And it was just like, like, I can see she's older, but I want that like spunkiness, right? So yeah, some good casting, some good cameos. I just all around, I think, good stuff, but I can see why it's like it wasn't the best thing that they've done, but it was still solid. So those are my thoughts on Ahsoka. Yeah, I thought it was.
Thank you for sharing. Good.
Indeed. Yeah. And I guess the last thing I will say is that, yeah, if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, or especially if you haven't seen Rebels, then yeah, you're going to be completely lost in all of it.
We watched season 1 of Rebels for the review show once 5 years ago, and I could point to the Rebels characters on site, but I don't remember their names. I think Chopper's the little angry robot guy.
Yeah, you get to see Chopper in live action.
Right, that's nice.
Yeah.
Love a robot.
Yeah, it was Kanan and Hera and Ezra and Chopper and Zeb and Sabine. So yeah,
my brain registered all those names. I remember them.
There you go. Yay, Star Wars.
Yay, Star Wars.
Star Wars, indeed. Something else that I've been reading I read through the manga Pluto,
Okay.
which I have read once before. It's an incredible book. Highly, highly recommend it. There's an anime adaptation coming out on Netflix in like a week. I think on like the 23rd. And I'm super stoked for that. It's by one of my favorite manga creators, Naoki Urasawa. And Pluto is, I've always described it a certain way, and kind of rereading this, realized I always described it wrong. Pluto is a reimagining of a specific episode of the Astro Boy television show called The Greatest Robot on Earth. And it is, yeah, like they just put a lot more work into it. It's 8 volumes, but it is a cyberpunk murder mystery set in the world of Astro Boy.
Wow.
And it's freaking great. It's so good.
Cyberpunk murder mystery. That's your jam.
Absolutely. Which is why I kind of checked it out. I had seen an anime by that same creator, or based on one of his works, and was like, what else does he do? And my comic book shop had some of his stuff, so I was like, I'm gonna check out this book. And I bought the first volume, and immediately the guy who owns the shop was like, that is one of the best books I have ever read, period. And I was like, that's high praise. And I came back that next day. I was like, y'all have the rest of those volumes? I'm gonna need all of those. So I'm stoked about that. I was like, I need to reread this before the anime comes out, because it's good. And I was like, I don't like, I remember it had to do with Astro Boy, but I don't remember it. So I'm all caught up now.
Good.
Yeah. And then Invincible season 2 is coming out in November, and I am so stoked.
Is Invincible a guy? Is that like little kid? Okay, his name is Invincible. I realized I wasn't sure.
Name.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like Strength Man, his name is Invincible.
By day, he is Jonathan Invincible, and nobody knows his secret identity.
Invincible, written by Robert Kirkman, the guy that made The Walking Dead. Has smash hit a cartoon on Amazon, hyper violent comic. Melissa, you would love it.
Okay.
Yeah. I watch the show, read the book, whatever you need to do, you would love it. But I've read like half of the comic. There's around like 24 volumes total. And I've read about half of it in the past, but that's been some years, and then I kind of fell off because only the first 10 volumes are on Comixology Unlimited. And I was like, you know what? I've had Invincible on my to-read list for some time. I wonder if I can read the entire series before season 2 comes out. So I did the math, and if I read a volume every weekday, I will finish the last volume on the day season 2 comes out.
Cool.
So, like, if I happen to have some time on the weekends, right?
That's
like,
strategy. That's that strategy that the quiz says you have. You're doing it in real life.
There you go. Achiever. Here I am.
Right.
Strategizing.
Now, if you go to this retreat and they ask you, how do you see your life reflecting your Clifton strengths? Do you have an anecdote you can tell them?
Exactly. So yeah, I've started rereading that. I'm almost to the point that I stopped last time. And since I recently got my library card, I now have the like Hoopla app on my phone and the Libby app, and they have all of that stuff. So I can now read the whole thing. Just get a volume each day. So yeah, I'm challenging myself with that, and hopefully sticking with that. So yeah, there you go. That's all the stuff that I've been reading and watching. At least that I want to talk about right now. So
other stuff is secret, private.
I mean, it's not secret. I did mention the leftovers. Or no, not the leftovers. Manifest, right? I think I mentioned that last.
You've been checking through the manifest.
Yeah.
You're up in that plane.
Yeah.
I also read this week. I read When You Didn't Make Me. I read on my own.
Nice. Congratulations, getting a promotion, reading. Wow.
I have found that I read the comics we do for the review show, which is, I don't know, maybe altogether an average of like a couple volumes a month. But I've found that because that can happen, there's stuff that I know ahead of time and other stuff you're like, it's comics week. You're reading comics. Like all of a sudden, assigned reading could just happen to me. So I don't really make a lot of time for my own recreational reading with the concern of, well, I might start something and then I just have to like put it down for a week. And then what am I going to remember when I pick it back up? It's this silly reason that I don't read much anymore. But I went to a rummage sale last week and I bought the thing that you're required by law to buy at every rummage sale, which is a 50-cent worn out Stephen King paperback.
Ah, okay.
Everyone must leave with one. And I left with what's his name? It's Skeleton Crew? Is that it? I have to pick it up.
I'm not knowledgeable enough of Stephen King's not filmography, but I guess bookography. Was that what you say? What's the
library?
Thing? Yeah, his catalog of work, his portfolio.
Yes. It is Skeleton Crew by number one author of it, Stephen King.
That almost looks like a G, Skeleton Guru, which
that's even
also,
scarier,
right?
That's a scarier title. Skeleton Guru. Normally, you don't talk about exclusively a skeleton. You're never like, hey, how's your baby? How's the pregnancy going? And they're like, skeleton's fine. I guess the kid's got like muscles and stuff. Really, I'm just focused on completing the skeleton. Despicable Me
17, Skeleton grew.
Oh my God, he's dead.
Oh
no. But I think it's very funny that if you did not know that It was the name of a major Stephen King work, just this text, author of it, Stephen King.
Author
and you're like, yes, author of this book. That must be
that one book, the author of it.
So I bought Skeleton Crew because I occasionally listen to it's a short story collection. There's a bunch of little guys in here. And by little guys, I mean like the novella for The Mist. That one's like 150 pages down to other ones that are like 17 or something. I bought this because I've been occasionally listening to a podcast called The King Cast. This is put out by Fangoria magazine. It is about the works of Stephen King. I like it a lot, but I don't have quite enough familiarity and context for Stephen King that I can listen to the podcast often. I look at it every week and I'm like, oh, dang, I don't know that one. I guess I have to skip this week. I got to learn something about it first before I come back to this. And there's one short story that does keep coming up whenever they talk about Stephen King. And it's a short story called The Jaunt. And it was in this collection. Okay. And it was mine for 50 whole cents. You should look up The Jaunt. It's like 27 pages. It's a pretty quick read.
Cool.
I'm wondering if maybe you can just find it somewhere. I don't know the availability of one short story.
Got my library card, and I'm sure I could get the like audio book or something.
I hope you can. The Jaunt is a story about this future where teleportation exists. and it's called
Where
The Jaunt.
employees are now achievers instead of employees.
You can take The Jaunt to get anywhere in the world, and even to space. We've colonized several planets, and this family's going to go to Mars. And with the dad's profession, you know, he's jaunted to Mars a couple times, but it's the first time for the wife and kids. So while they're all waiting in this like terminal lounge, he tells his family, kind of to sort of calm their nerves about this, how the jaunt was invented and all the trials it went through, trying to convince them, don't be nervous about the jaunt. Yes, it had problems at first, but look how they solved the problems with this teleportation technology. There's
interesting.
I don't want to tell you how it ends. I knew how it ended before I read this because I heard them mention it on the podcast, and it is the ending that got me to read this thing. But I'd like you to go in surprised if you can.
Okay. Interesting. I feel like that's a good recommendation because I'm already trying to come up with like, all right, what is the ending? What do I think it is? What do I, does like a clone of himself get off and they're just like, Spider-Man meme, right? I don't know.
It's not that. It's you think that is from Stephen King, author of it? You think he doesn't have something more horrifying than point at a clone?
It'd just be an awkward situation. Sometimes that's all a short story needs to be. Right? So there I was at the barbershop. I sat down in the chair. 2 minutes after. Bam. Blackness. Lights go out. Short story done by the skeleton crew at your local Barnes and Noble.
In his twilight years, Stephen King decides to leave horror behind, and he writes only about awkward situations.
Awkward situations can be horrifying, man.
I've agreed to take this winter caretaker position at this hotel. I think the hotel's haunted. I kind of want to kill my family. And then the next line just says, in brackets, curb your enthusiasm music.
Yeah. Oh, man. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Have you ever had any truly great finds at a rummage sale, flea market, or garage sale?
Ooh, I don't know if I've had truly great ones. I've had a purchase that's always stuck with me that I did not expect is that I found the volume number 1 of the Speed Racer comics at a dollar store. And it like perfect brand new, like great condition. Wasn't really interested in Speed Racer like that, but it was just like, I didn't know they had comics at the dollar store. So I just bought this volume of Speed Racer.
You saying I wasn't really interested in Speed Racer like that is like Speed Racer asked you to the prom. You're like, Speed Racer, I thought we were just friends.
I mean, I know I have good stamina and all, but like, I just... Speed Racer, this is too fast, my dude. I mean, like, I'm not a Speed Racer fan. Like, I haven't watched all the old cartoon. I've seen the live action movie. But I'm not classic. Like, man, fucking Speed Racer. That's my favorite, right? That's not me.
Right. As much as I do love the Wachowskis live action Speed Racer, I never think I gotta experience another piece of Speed Racer media.
Yeah. And I was just kind of caught off guard that the dollar store had comics and
manga.
Much
less manga.
It is in the standard comic book format, and it was published by IDW. So I don't know if that is just like an English translation of the thing. I didn't really do that much research. But then, yeah, I just kind of picked it up on a whim. And then for like the next month, I just like kept going back to that dollar store to see if they got more comics and like what stuff they had. And I never bought anything from them. Like, again, it was just that one thing. And I was just like, huh, man, I wish they had more comics at the dollar store.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Oh, well. But
at this rummage sale, I had a pretty good find. This is the special edition 2-disc DVD set of the movie Dogma. Now, I've saw most of Dogma once on TV when I was 13, and I don't really remember it. I have no personal attachment to the movie Dogma. But I bought this DVD because I know it is out of print. I thought that, like, that is an uncommon item. And it's in a dollar bin. And I look at the guy and he's like, yeah, it's $1. Like, I've tried to sell it for more. I've never managed to make the sale. I'll give it to you for the $1. And I just went looking it up on eBay. I thought it was rarer than it is. It's out of print, but maybe they did initially print a lot because eBay says I could get one for $10. Yeah. But still, uncommon.
Sure.
A shiny Dogma appears. Right. Good deal. I also bought $20 worth of Beanie Babies.
Amazing.
To share. You remember when I bought $20 worth of Beanie Babies last year?
It's now an annual tradition.
No, my niece came over and she got really into like playing little games and little hide and seeks with them.
Sure.
And she was really trying to convince me to like let her have a Beanie Baby when she left. And I let her have like a bear. And I could tell she was disappointed that she didn't get to have one of the colorful ones. It's just a regular brown bear. So I thought I'm going to find some antique mall or something and get her own beanie collection. And that's what I did. I've got some unique beanies in here. One I am keeping for myself because it is an officially licensed donkey.
Shrek? Donkey?
Him! Yes, not a donkey, the donkey. Eddie Murphy's donkey. There he is.
Capital D donkey.
Capital D. There's a bride bear. No, like groom bear or anything. I like the idea of just a solo bride. You decide who she's marrying or what she's doing. This is great for make-believe for a young child. This is an eel. Look at this. I did not know that there was a beanie eel. And they come with like high quality tag protectors. I'm not going to fiddle with the tag protectors. Otherwise, I would read you what all of their names are.
Probably look it up.
We got, a bunch of different bears. We got a quality moose. I've got this beaver with log.
Oh, wow.
Pretty nice.
I think that was one of the ones that was out when I was a kid and still
it says the 10-year anniversary of Beanie Babies. You've got some anniversary ones. You've got some Beanie 2000, some Millennium Beanies. This guy's name is Lumberjack. His birthday, March 22nd, 2003. This is why you do not remember Lumberjack the Beaver. Just wanted to show those off. I think it's cool that we all remember the concept of Beanie Babies so well. And like there's specific like big classic ones like Patty the Purple Platypus that we all know. But then when you dig into Beanie Babies, like you always find ones you didn't know they had. Like not just that's a different bear, but like eel? You guys got down to eel? I think it's amazing. I love to find these.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, with that, I say we take a quick break for some housekeeping. Then when we get back, got some interesting Marvel news to discuss here. So we will be right back. Here at the Whatnauts, we make multiple different shows, and a lot of hard work goes into making them. So we would love it if you check them all out. If you enjoy our shows, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is the best place to show your support. For just $1 a month, you can get early access to episodes, and at our $3 tier, a Patreon exclusive podcast, The Pilots Club. You can even get a shout out and thank you on most of our shows at the $5 tier. And if you're one of our patrons already, thank you so much. It means the world to us. You can find out more information on our website, thewhatnauts.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in the Whatnauts, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. You can also find us on YouTube and Twitch for video versions of the shows, trailer reactions, and live streams. And lastly, we have merch. If you want to grab yourself a shirt or a hoodie or a mug or something else, head over to thewhatnauts.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. Once again, thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. It means a lot. Over on the Pilots Club this month for October, we got to talk about the amazing Screw-On Head. This kind of weird oddity of adult animation that is both comedic and like kind of like spooky-ish, because the artwork is all based on Mike Mignola's stuff, so it looks like Hellboy. Yeah, interesting find. I'm glad we got to talk about that one. Melissa was the one that pitched that one, so good stuff with that. And then, speaking of spooky stuff, over on the review show, since it's October, it is our horror month. And this past week, we got to talk about the vampire movie A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. And that was an interesting one. That one,
yeah.
One of the like standout scenes of all time of things that we've covered on the review show. Just gorgeous looking. Not so spooky, more so about vibes and tension, right?
Yes.
But in interesting mix of like this vampire movie being a vampire movie, also it being like influenced by Western movies and like teen romance stuff, and just like it's an interesting mix. And a vampire rides a skateboard, so what's not to love, right? Over on this show, The Captain's Log, last week we got to talk about some Halloween costume ideas based on past episodes of the podcast. Can't believe I didn't say Power Rangers after I like bought the shirt and the
right. You didn't do Power
Rangers. You can
Rangers
see right back there. I could always do that one.
I'm still my review show costume. It's one we didn't even bring up in that episode. It'll be a surprise.
There you go. So yeah, we had some fun with that one. Nothing new just yet on the Reactor Core, but of course Loki season 2 is starting, and we will be talking about that.
Has started.
Like we will be. Yes, has. I guess I meant more like our coverage of that will start.
I feel
soon, but
the start of it was so strong. I'm like, it is not still in the middle of starting. It's off to the races.
But we are going to be grouping up and talking about that every 2 episodes. So we will be talking about that this next week, and then Melissa, I don't know if you've checked it out yet or if you've started to watch
Not
the Continental.
Yet.
We might
to
do that. Might do that down the road here. But yeah, keep an eye out for all of that stuff. The last little bit of housekeeping that I want to mention is an important one here. So at the end of October / early November, we will be switching podcast hosting providers. So if there's any kind of weird shenanigans going on with the RSS feed, if you noticed it didn't update properly or on time, you might have to like unsubscribe and resubscribe. So just keep an eye out for that stuff if that happens in the next couple weeks here. So I just wanted to put that on everyone's radar.
Good to know.
There you go. That's it for housekeeping. Well, so we got 2 things to talk about. This interesting Marvel news that dropped today. And then something's been happening with one of the camera guys on F1, and he's on something. What do you want to talk about first?
Oh, I have a movie in my cinema corner. I want to save that for the very end because it's less. We'll get to that. This is stuff I want to tell you about. I don't think the audience will care. We'll put it at the end. Audience can stay if they want. Your choice between your two topics.
Ooh, man. Well, let's go with the F1 thing first, which will then take us into the Marvel stuff, which gets us back to...
Will? Do you have a segue between the two?
We'll race right into Marvel, and then that brings us to movies and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know. So I've been watching the latest season of Formula One, started to get into it last year, about a month ago, as I started to watch Drive to Survive and listen to a podcast about F1, all that good stuff. But over the past couple weeks, there has been some things that happened in two of the races that I'm just kind of not confused about, but just like, what happened? What is going on here? So
camera leaves the race, follows a bird.
You're not necessarily wrong. No, so what happened? The first thing that happened is the camera guy did this thing that is just so reminiscent of something you would see a camera guy do on a sitcom like The Office or Modern Family or something like that, where they are, it feels like the cameraman is in the thick of things here. Some guy does something and then they turn the camera to look at someone's reaction, and they just have like just like this face of like sadness or longing, or just like Jim looks in the camera and is just like, right, like it felt like a moment like that. And I'll give some more details in a sec. But the second thing was that the driver pulled in for a pit stop and he like rotated the camera and did like a full 360. Not in the sense that he's like spinning around like a 3D camera in that sense, but like tilts the camera to one side and just keeps going and does a full like rotation of it.
What?
Yes, I and it's not. It was not a slow one. It was a fast one. Like,
oh my god! Oh, yeah. You don't do that fast. What is this?
Yeah, exactly. Just like, what did I just watch? What happened? So, for a little bit more context, both of what
a
makes
car
this interesting,
has four wheels. You
red and blue make purple. So to give a little bit more context, Red Bull, the Red Bull Formula One team,
yes,
they just won both the Constructors' Championship and their main driver just won the Drivers' Championship. The season is not over, but they are so like far ahead in the points that mathematically no one can catch up. So it was just like, well, congratulations, you won. You're the best team, and you also had the best driver. And their second driver, he is number 2 in the points, but over the past month or so, his performance has been not so great, and he's been making some mistakes and stuff like that. And a couple weeks ago, in this one particular race, he got a couple penalties for track limits, which means that he like went off of the race track, and they get like a warning the first like 2 times you do it, but on that third you get a 5-second penalty, and then it resets, so you get like another warning and then a 5-second penalty. So in this race, he had already gotten a penalty, then got a second one, but like right before they said he got a second one, was also in this incident that caused him to retire the car. He was basically in a small crash where then it's like, all right, well, we can't continue the race here. So they brought his car back into the garage, and then that's when they learned, oh, you have another 5-second penalty that you need to serve. So normally, if he was continuing the race, next time he took a pit stop, he would just have to wait for 5 seconds before they could touch the car, and then he could go on out. But since they already retired the car, the options were, well, you can serve that penalty next race if you want, like at the start, or you can fix your car and send him back out to do a couple more laps so that he can come in for a pit stop, serve the penalty, and like do one more lap and then retire the car again. Which is what they did. They did that second option, which is not something you see.
Do cars get retired a lot?
Yes. There are accidents that happen. There are crashes. And they can be pretty intense. There have been people that have died and passed away or get hurt.
Died and passed away. Oh no.
Yep. Both, all in one. Their skeleton grew. But yeah, like they can be pretty intense. And so yeah, that's what they did, is they fixed the car. They sent him back out. He served this penalty and then retired a second time. That's not something you see very often. Like, this was a weird, like, wait, they're sending him back out? What is happening? But meanwhile, the race is continuing. The races depends on the track, but like can be around like, 50 something laps to 60 something laps. And he retired the car the first time on like lap 15. So this was early on in the race. And so he's sitting in this car, not necessarily stuck, but it's an involved process to get in and out of the car. So he's just sitting in this car while it is up on the jacks and they're like fixing things and all of that stuff. Meanwhile, the race is continuing. And Max Verstappen, who is the driver that won the championship,
he's the big guy.
Right. Yeah. He comes in for a pit stop. And this is when the weird thing happens with the camera that looked like it was like something straight out of a sitcom.
What do I Google to see this? Can you show me what you're describing?
I'll have to see if I can find a clip of this and send it to you. Because here's what happened, right? They send the broadcast goes to a camera guy who is down there with the pit crew for Red Bull. I think they made his camera live just a few seconds earlier than they maybe meant to, because he's just kind of looking around and then looks to where Max should be pulling in, and he starts zooming in. But he's zooming in on a member of the pit crew who not only has his back turned, but is like bent over. So he's zooming in on this guy's ass. Yeah, just butt shot, just right there, just zooming in like, oh yeah. There we go.
You said ass and my computer got too hot and shut down.
Wow, he was getting like, whoa, all worked up. So yeah, they like zoom in on his ass, and Max pulls in for his pit stop. He drives off. The camera follows him as he zooms off. But then the camera swings back around to Sergio Perez, who's in his car, just bored out of his mind with nothing to do because he's just sitting there. Everyone is fixing his car, but he has nothing to do. So he's just like sitting there looking sad, looking bored. Like he's just like, man, I wish that could be me out there like on the racetrack. And it was just like the perfect storm of like butt shot to Max's pissed off, and he drives off, and then he looks back to this like it looked like Michael Scott just did something stupid in The Office, and then you turn to like Stanley, who just has like the straightest face and is like just so
please find this.
The whole situation. Yeah, I'll have to clip this out.
This sounds
somehow.
like the video equivalent of like one of those news photos of some chaotic scene and somebody labels it like they draw the golden ratio spiral around it. Like this has the dimensions of an old master's painting.
It was just like the perfect little like, what was that? That was hilarious. Oh my God.
Speaking of weird, unnecessary zoom ins, Jack and I found this one YouTube channel. I can't remember what it's called. We surmise that the person uploading all of these videos used to be some sort of a videographer in the 90s who would shoot like B-roll for the news. Because it's videos of like just people milling about at the grand opening of the Hollywood Blockbuster video rental store.
Okay.
Or
sure.
like, you know, like the bits you'd see on the news where it's like the hottest movie of the season is Titanic. And you see footage of somebody going up to the ticket taker like, 2 tickets for Titanic, please. And then people walking out and they're like, it was great. I've seen it twice. I'll see it again.
Yeah.
Like it's just the raw footage of that guy like filming this stuff. It's
Great.
just 10 minutes of different people going up to a ticket window at an old AMC theater somewhere in the South in 1997. And of course, this isn't staged. So it's just them ordering anything. Like this guy's just waiting for enough good footage of people looking to see Titanic. But they're looking to see all kinds of things.
That's so funny.
It's just every movie that's in the theater at that time. And then it's all these people coming out of the theater. There's the B-roll of them literally like awkwardly walking out of the theater doors with their coats over their arms. And then all of them saying like, oh, it was great. Specifically the word great. That's like the one word everybody has for Titanic. They don't throw in a fantastic or a terrific or a stupendous. Like 10 times in a row. Great. Titanic, great.
Yeah.
And they say how many times they've seen it and when they'll come back and see it again. It's very funny to see all of this in its raw form.
That's so funny.
One of the videos is called Following a Lady and Her 2 Kids Around Target in 1995. And it's clearly part of one of these news pieces that's about like holiday shopping. So they're shopping for Christmas. And he's not like following them. Clearly this family of this mom and her like 5-year-old girl and like 2-year-old boy, like know whoever this videographer is. You know, maybe they're an acquaintance or something. Like the kids are very comfortable with him around.
Or like the news
nothing seems
put
amiss.
out like a local ad, like, hey, let us follow you around for the day while you're shopping at Target. Yeah.
Maybe you're right. It's all very comfortable. It does not sound as creepy as the title Following a Lady and Her 2 Kids Around Target in 1995 sounds.
Yeah.
It's literally that. It's, you know, it's just shopping. And this is just going to play under when the newscasters talk about, despite rising prices, many families are still trying to find some holiday cheer. And they'll say it exactly like that. And this is the raw footage pre-news. So without any of the news narration
like
over it.
Zoom ins on
exactly.
people.
He'll just suddenly zoom in on a price tag. And you have no context for like, I don't remember 95. I'm like, is that a good deal on jeans? A bad deal on jeans? Like watching the footage, clearly they're going to come up with the angle of the story later. It seems like, because this is just like a nice, pleasant time. They're like trying to buy a tie for dad.
Yeah,
maybe that's the angle of the news piece.
Whoever wrote the actual news piece.
Right.
hoping it matches. That's funny.
But yeah, and another one's just like footage of a Barnes and Noble in like 1999. That's just like the same pan across the same shelves back and forth over and over. And then suddenly he zooms in on Atonement or Tuesdays with Maury or something.
The latest Agatha Christie re-release. Right. But so yeah, then the race that happened this past weekend, same kind of thing, is that another pit stop happens, and he does that, like, he spins the camera in that like weird thing. The thing that makes me wonder if it's on purpose is it was another Red Bull pit stop. So I think it's the same camera guy. And so I'm wondering if he's like trying to show off or get fired or get a promotion or something. I don't know. But
it's
now
one or the other. He's like, I want to get out of here or I want to go to the top.
I mean,
this will result in one of these two.
How do you get? Because I mean, I assume it would be like a pretty standard like news camera that he's using. So how did he flip it and rotate it? What did he do to do that? Or is this like someone in the control booth accidentally hit the wrong button to like make it spin like that? I don't know. But now I am hoping that the next race, this next weekend, I'm hoping that something else happens in one of the Red Bull pit stops with the camera, because that way I will know that this is a pattern. There's been three of them, right?
I'm just picturing this big, hefty, high-tech news camera that's got a button on it for just spin. Just go in circles, do a barrel roll.
Yeah, exactly. So that was it. The camera guy is on one. Who knows? Anyways, let's talk about this Marvel news that came out. Did you get a chance to read through this?
I did.
This thing here. So an article came out earlier today, October 11th, written by Boris Kitt on The Hollywood Reporter. And in short, it seems like the writers and directors of the new Daredevil show, Born Again, have been fired, as Marvel is now kind of re-strategizing how their TV business works, like how they make their television shows. Mm-hmm. And this article, I highly suggest you go give this a read, because it's a pretty revealing article on, I think, something we've kind of all felt, but maybe haven't been able to put our finger on exactly what was happening over there at Marvel and or Disney. But the long and short of it is that all of the Marvel TV shows really haven't been written by consistent writers or a showrunner. In fact, they've then tried to like bring in directors to lead the show, but then the directors are also having issues. And so the directors leave, and then they're like, well, maybe the execs can do stuff, or maybe we can just fix it in post. And it's just been kind of a mess. And that's why I think as a whole, we felt like, okay, some of the ingredients for a lot of these Marvel shows have been really cool or really interesting, but maybe they don't come together all this, or they gloss over too much. And you can tell like, okay, maybe this director wanted to focus on this thing, but obviously the show's not really about that. And so it's just like, well, why did the show change to focusing on this now? What's happening? I don't know. But yeah, it kind of appears that Daredevil Born Again had already filmed a handful of the episodes, but it was less than half. And then I guess as a result of some of the things with the strike, like this is what they are now requiring on all of their shows. They need to have a writer's room. The showrunner will now write the pilot of the television
Which
show,
is
and will
something
write the story Bible or the show
I didn't
Bible.
realize before. I never really thought about it. None of these shows had pilots. None of them had
Yeah.
like a 1-episode testing ground. They
Yeah.
would make an entire series at once, which
Right.
does sound challenging. They are sort of, I don't want to say they're moving backwards, but like the logline at the top of this article says, the Disney unit is undergoing growing pains and seeing the logic of traditional TV culture, which is you have a writer's room, you have a consistent showrunner, you make a pilot. If that's good, then you make more of it. You have like this sort of consistency to it. And it seems like they are moving in a good direction. It's unfortunate that all those folks got fired. I'm sure it wasn't anything based on their specific performance, but more of we need a clean slate. We need a fresh start with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very funny. So this article, which is including mentions of some people being fired, unfortunately, the ad bar I am getting at the top of the screen when I open up this page on Hollywood Reporter is an ad for Banker's Box. Those cardboard boxes that are movie language for this person just got fired. I have never seen an ad for Banker's Box before. And right here at the top of the screen, it's like, do you need basic duty, medium duty, or heavy duty? How fired are you?
That's awful. But yeah, so it seems like specifically with Daredevil as well, they got to look at the test footage and stuff like that, and was just like, yeah, this isn't really coming together like we had hoped. I think they knew with the success of the Netflix show that they had to knock this one out of the park, and it seems like they were focusing it more on like this will be a legal procedural drama, which I'm actually kind of okay with.
Yeah,
but also,
I like that.
But also, like, he wasn't in costume until episode 4. It wasn't.
I did
like,
read that. I'm like,
there wasn't violence.
Even people who are into the legal drama side of Daredevil, I think having him 3 episodes is just straight Matt and not Daredevil is a questionable idea.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, like that Netflix show just struck gold with that first season. Season 2 was okay, and then season 3 was also really, really good. But yeah, I just think they were a little worried with that one of like, we need to knock this one out of the park, and recent shows haven't been doing that great. So yeah, they're starting from scratch. I did see Vincent D'Onofrio out there already giving some comments of like, hey, this is actually nothing to worry about. Like, this is not cause for alarm. All of the projects that I've ever been involved in have changed creatively from pre-production to production to post. Like, this stuff happens all the time. This is not like something to be worried about, and it is bringing on more creative people to make this a better show. So that's a
very
good thing.
comforting to know. Thank you, Vincent. I was listening to a podcast called The Big Flop that's like 40-minute episodes about various sort of pop cultural disasters. And one of them was about the 2019 Cats movie. And it talked a lot about how that movie had like a set release date. And a lot of the shortcomings of the movie are due to we have to meet this release date. We can't delay it. The release date, of course, being Christmas 2019. And then months later, after the pandemic, everything gets delayed. And then now with the strikes, we're getting more delays. And I listened to that episode and I thought, you know, it was unfortunate that everything the Cats movie happened. But I do get the sense we're not really going to repeat those mistakes, because I think now we live in a pop cultural time where a project getting delayed does not mean a bad reputation. I think the average person is getting a greater sense about all these logistical things that go into making a piece of entertainment. And we've been used to so many things getting delayed that I hope that in the future, studios will know that release dates can be very malleable. You don't have to have things set in stone. That's truly not helpful. And most people aren't really holding you to that anymore.
You would hope so. In the video game industry, there's a famous quote from Miyamoto, who works at Nintendo, all of that stuff. That is a like he says something along the lines of like a delayed game is never a worse game, or like they like if they delay it, they now have more time to work on it and fix it and do all that stuff. But also just from experience, that doesn't necessarily always hold true, in the sense that like just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's not without its problems or stuff like that. Even Cyberpunk 2077 got delayed multiple times, and it finally came out and it was a mess. It was a whole thing. Now it's like they've fixed it, they patched it, they just had this big old update and DLC come out. They've been working on that game since it released to fix it, and it is now like, that game is freaking awesome. It looks incredible. It's so good. So yeah, I hope that is one thing though that they do take away from it, though, that like, you announce a date, you don't necessarily need to keep that date, but also why announce a date in the first place? Just get the movie done, and or like close to being done to the point where you can announce a release date that will stick, right? Not one. Yeah, and I don't say the date so early on that it's you know.
And I understand that, like, when you announce a date, that's also for the theater owners so that they can, like, book that time. Yeah, and, like, they need that business. But also, like, with movies, it's like, that thing's not ready. Like, Dune isn't coming out this year, but there's other things that can be pushed into that slot. Like, Wonka's still going to come out on time, and it's just it can be an IMAX. It can have these extra showings that otherwise the other Timothée Chalamet movie was going to be in.
Yeah, but it was wild to me. You're reading through this article and them basically being like, yeah, with She-Hulk, like the person that like created the show and wrote the first episode then got fired, and other writers came in and did all that, and it wasn't working. And then we eventually hired the original creator back to help out in post-production so that they could fix things. And
yeah, it doesn't say she was necessarily fired, but like sidelined. You were very involved. You're less involved. Now we're pulling you in to be more involved again.
Yeah, and it was just kind of baffling for them to then see that process and how much her being involved creatively throughout more of the process, how it helped the show. And it's just like, come on, guys. People have been making television. I mean, so I don't know a thing about making TV. I'll be the first one to say that. But like, there's a history. There's a track record. Like, there's ways to do this stuff, and they thought they could come in and reinvent the wheel here and do it this way, and it like obviously was not going the greatest. So
it went fine. That is another thing I picked up from this article, is that it seemed like they were having people with film backgrounds work on this TV sector.
It's just a different business.
And they realized
we need it. Yeah,
TV specific producers. Yeah, and you know, there have been far worse growing pains people have, you know, various franchises have gone through. When you look at the list, like, there's a lot of good stuff to celebrate from this initial era of Disney Plus Marvel shows. There's a little infographic with the watch times for each shows. Kind of surprised to see Miss Marvel there at the bottom, the least watched out of all of these, when it's pretty solid in quality. I don't know if that was
one of
people
my
who were
least
thinking like
favorites.
it is pretty up and down, but what works about it, I think, genuinely does work very well. I don't know if it's like people thinking it's too much of a young adult show. A lot of it is subtitled, and I know like some people, not that they don't want to read, but like subtitles just don't work for all people, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe they were like, I respect this. I'm going to choose to watch something else where I can hear it in English, please.
Miss Marvel is often the one I think of or point to when I'm like, man, I liked the ingredients, but they just didn't bake a cake with that. Like they just tried to throw it all together and hope it made something. It just kind of fell apart by the end. It glossed over so much stuff. Their family. No, wait, they're the villain. They're this. They're that. And just like what is happening here?
I think that the core family and friendship story is winning enough that I look back on that largely positively. But yes,
just had a lot
there were very underbaked villains and antagonists in that show.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, then there's all sorts of varying opinions on the show, because I was listening to a podcast today and they were talking about some of the MCU shows. They recorded their podcast before this article came out, though. So, but in that they had said like one of their favorites was Miss Marvel, and I was just like, I really didn't like that one. I wanted to so bad, and I think the casting was incredible, but I ended up really not liking that show. And then I also, for the most part, really liked Secret Invasion, and fell apart. But
yes,
I think for the most part, I liked a lot of it. And as this article mentions, it's also one of their worst reviewed shows. And it was just like, man, like it wasn't that bad. Like, so yeah, there's all sorts of differing opinions, but I'm hoping that this helps out down the road. They said that they are now looking to create shows that that will be intended to go on for multiple seasons, and hope that you can,
that'd be nice,
kind of build a better and stronger relationship with those characters as they develop them over the course of multiple seasons. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully that means better shows down the road.
Yeah.
So good stuff with that. But Melissa, let's wrap up with your movie that you watched, or is this a show as well?
This is a movie. I've told you about this before. This week I got to go to my local Alamo Draft House for a special screening of Sorcerer. This is a 1977 film by William Friedkin, and it is a remake. It is another adaptation of the novel that The Wages of Fear is based off of.
Oh, okay. There we go. Interesting. Okay.
So this is truly content for Kyle. Audience members, if you don't want spoilers for a 1953 or 1977 movie about men driving trucks real slow, you can leave now. This is a conversation among friends.
I highly recommend you go watch it's The Wages of Sin or The Wages of Fear. What was the name?
I literally just said it. It's The Wages of Fear.
Look, I grew up in a religious household, right? But yeah, go watch that. It was actually a fantastic movie. We covered it over on the review show. I don't know the episode number off the top of my head, but it's up there.
Earlier this summer. It was May.
Yeah.
Sorcerer. It's called Sorcerer because it's the name of one of the trucks. It's I know that it is another adaptation of the novel and not necessarily a remake of The Wages of Fear. That being said, I don't know the novel. I haven't read it, so I don't know exactly what is in there. But Sorcerer feels like a really interesting remix of Wages of Fear. It takes a lot of the set pieces of these men driving these trucks really slow across a dangerous landscape so that the nitroglycerin in the trucks will not explode,
Mhm.
It'll take those set pieces and sort of change them or split them up. Or in Wages of Fear, we had to see both sets of drivers go through this obstacle. Now we only see one of them. Instead of it blowing up a rock, they have to blow up a giant tree that fell in the way. Like, it's a lot of twists on the stuff we saw before. There's some stuff I think it does better. There's one scene in Wages of Fear that I think is way better in that one. And I looked at Sorcerer and I'm like, weird that you kind of whiffed that one. You remember when it's like after they've blown up the rock or something, and it's just the two drivers and they're staggered like 5 miles apart or whatever, these two trucks full of nitroglycerin. And we cut between the two trucks and it's just both sets of men just sort of kind of taking a breather. Like, they're feeling like they're on the last leg of the journey. They're feeling a little lighter. They're like able to talk and joke and get to know each other. And you're in the second truck. And then just in the distance, you see the first truck explode.
See the explosion. Yeah.
With like no context. Like, you never know exactly what it was that set it off. But you do know exactly how volatile this nitroglycerin is. So you buy it absolutely. You have no questions. You're just like, oh, dang. There goes them.
Yep.
In this movie, you like see the truck roll over a big rock and get a flat tire, and you see it explode close up.
Aww.
And the explosions in this movie are beautiful. Like, just the difference in filming technology between 53 and 77, you really notice it. There's some helicopter shots are a thing we can do now. This real close footage of these beautiful explosions. Like, it looks great. But the tension of now you know why the truck explodes, like, is not that's nothing compared to
Fear
there it goes.
The unknown.
There it went. Right. Yeah. But there's other things it does well. It adds the sequence that wasn't in Wages of Fear, where they have to go over this real rickety rope bridge over a river, and it's storming. So the water is rising up to like meet the rope bridge, and it's like
this is it.
rickety and wibbledy wobbledy. And so the truck is driving down it, and it's tilted at like a 45-degree angle.
Good Lord.
It's a nightmare.
See, so when we watched The Wages of Fear, I was alluding to, I kind of picked that movie based off of something that I like, a specific scene that I thought was in the movie. I think it's Sorcerer. I think it's the one with the rickety
I think so.
bridge. Because I remember hearing something about like cars going slow across a bridge because they have nitro, and then you were like, Wages of Fear, cars going. So I was like, this is it. I can watch the movie, but I guess that wasn't in that one. So Sorcerer, I'll have to check that out.
It must have been this. The way it not ends, not the literal ending in the movie, but the end of the mission. The truck like breaks down on him. The final guy left in this journey, his truck breaks down. And so he carries the nitroglycerin to the site on foot.
Oh,
and you see, and it's Roy Scheider. It's the guy from Jaws and all that jazz. Make a mashup and call it All That Jaws. That's what I say. But this real like severe looking man. And he is so worn out and terrified and haunted and pale, ghostly pale. And you see him just staggering out of the darkness, like carrying this crate of nitroglycerin. It's such a frightening image. He truly looks like a ghoul. He looks like the specter of death.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
The movie starts with like prologues about this is what all these men were doing and how they got to this little town in South America, which The Wages of Fear does not have. It has more of that and less town stuff. But altogether, I'd say it's still a similar timeline of taking it a while to introduce the actual premise and get the men into the trucks, which is sincerely all I am here for. When I watch both of these movies, I'm just like, trucks. I want them in the trucks. I want the movie to be 90% trucks. Get them in there. This is the meat of the thing for me. I don't care about these characters. I just need human souls v nature and truck. This is the central conflict I need. But you do get a cool sequence where the guys like build, like they have these rusted old junk buckets of old trucks, and there's a sequence of them fixing them up. Like the drivers are responsible for like repairing their own trucks, which gives it a real sense of ownership that the first movie didn't have, where it's just like, you pass the driving test, get in these trucks we have already prepared for you. It's like, no, we have to like clean it, repair it, paint a name on the side. We have to do all of this. And then there's you can tell that this movie is directed by the guy who directed The Exorcist. There's a scene where like there's one of these trucks and it's in this foggy morning. It's dark, it's surrounded by fog, and the truck's in silhouette, and then it's like headlights light up, and over the grill like teeth. It looks like this beast that's awakened, like, here I am, it's truck.
Sorcerer.
Sorcerer.
Good stuff. That's cool.
I recommend it, not just to you who has already seen Wages of Fear, but it's a really fascinating case of, like I said, not movie and remake, but two adaptations of the same source material. It's a really interesting comparison case between the two. Seeing one does not mean you've seen the other. They're both distinctive enough that they are each their own valuable viewing experience worth having.
Cool.
And it was cool to see it on like a big screen in a theater.
Yeah,
I like going to see really specific movies like that, because you look around at everybody else in the theater with you and you're like, oh, we're all the same kind of freak here. Like you didn't just throw this on a streaming service at home in sweatpants. Here. Exactly. It's like freaks. You made plans. You bought tickets. It's Monday night. You could have been doing anything else. You could be at home cooking dinner. No, you're here watching these sweaty men drive these slow trucks.
Good stuff.
I want another one. I just want to put that out in the universe. I want every like 30 or 40 years, give me a new Wages of Fear, please.
I think it's evergreen. As you were talking, like, I would love to see two directors like kind of do an experiment thing where they're both adapting the same material at the same time, and the movies come out on the same like weekend, and so you get to go like see them both and just see like what the difference is. Like, I would love to see something like that. That is so confusing for the average consumer. That's great for me. And look, me and my so bewildering to like Monday my night. Parents. We'll make plans, we'll buy tickets. It's sicko only. Yeah. Movies in sicko mode. That's what I would do, you know. But yeah, that was just a thought that I had there. So cool, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, let's wrap up the podcast right there. Yeah. So, Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet? I've just set it up. I have only reviewed one movie so far, but I do have a Letterboxd. That is at Wilkywit, WILKYWIT. And there you go. And you can find me at most social media places at Yo Kyle Springer. And if you'd like to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on most social medias. And then on Threads, we are at the Whatnauts official. Go like, share, subscribe. Go check out more of our videos. If you're watching this on YouTube, we would appreciate that a ton. And yeah, this has been number 255 of the Whatnauts Captain's Log. And we'll see you all next time. Bye. Bye.